Hi guys, so I wanted to do a quick video today to help you to deal with difficult people and help to build your confidence. So I'll get to the confidence bit at the end. But before I get started, I wanted to talk about something that we all have in our brains called mirror neurons. So a neuron is a nerve cell in our brains that transmits information and messages to the rest of the brain. And mirror neurons especially are a particular kind of neuron that help us to read people and to empathize with people and to predict behavior. So where did we discover this? So there was an Italian scientist, I'm never going to remember the guy's name, something like Rizzolatti, and he was working with monkeys and he hooked them up to electrodes, and he was doing experiments where he would get one monkey to observe another monkey, for example, eating a banana. And what he discovered was that the very same parts of the brain lit up in the observer to the one actually eating the banana, which implied that the monkey that was observing it was sort of experiencing and imagining what it would be like to eat that banana. And through further development, we discovered these things called mirror neurons. Now, why are they important and where do they come from? So I guess we have to talk about primitive man. So when we were cavemen, if you like, cavemen and women, we needed to survive. And the best way to do that was in a group. So we had to get very good at being able to read people and empathize with people, and to predict whether or not we were in some kind of threat by people's facial expressions, whether they were enjoying and resonating with what we were saying, or whether or not they didn't like what we were saying and there was a chance that we would get ostracized and banished and therefore we wouldn't survive very long. So I'll give you some examples of how mirror neurons kick in. The easiest example, of course, is whenever you see somebody else getting hurt, for example, whether they get hit by a ball or whether you see a car crash on a movie or something like that and you're kind of starting to wince and feel uncomfortable. It's because those mirror neurons are observing those behaviors and you're kind of feeling or imagining what those people must be feeling. So other example is, I guess, police are trained when they come into a volatile situation that they should always come in with less intensity than the perpetrator or who they're coming in. So if they come in like that and someone's being very threatening, they're not going to come in at the same level because it could potentially escalate and it would get out of control very quickly. So they're taught to come in slightly underneath so that they can then talk them down, because mirror neurons, they are contagious. We cannot help unconsciously to start matching and mirroring the behaviors and the facial expressions and the emotions, therefore, of the people that we are surrounded by. So when you will see this all the time, when you're in a bar or a pub, you will see that people are engaged in conversation, and if they're having a good conversation and they're in rapport with each other, that they will be matching and mirroring those gestures and body language and everything else. Even the way that they talk and the tone of their voice will match and mirror. What's the difference between matching and mirroring? Well, matching is when it's exactly the same hand gesture, for example, on each person will be the same, but if it was mirroring, it'd be the same hand gesture, but they'd be doing it with the opposite hand. So there are some disadvantages to mirror neurons, and that is in the sense that they actually behave quite differently when we get stressed. So the more stressed that we are, then mirror neurons start to pick up on all of the more negative things around us. So for example, the more stressed you are, you will start to be aware of and notice things that irritate you, whether that be sounds or body language or tones of people's voices. You will start to be very sensitive to those things around you that actually, I guess, are in resonance with the kind of feelings and stress that you're experiencing at the time. So it's not all good. But now I want to get to the kind of idea of how this is going to help you deal with difficult people. Now I get quite a few clients sometimes that come to me and say, Well, I'm not sure you're going to be able to help with this particular issue because it's actually not me that's the problem. It's the person, it's my boss, or it's the person I live with, or whatever it is. And to some degree, that's true. You cannot change another person. But what you can do is you can actually influence them, not in a kind of manipulating way. And the way that you do it isn't actually by doing anything to them at all. It's about managing your own state. When I say state, I mean your emotions, your state of mind, and your state of awareness and being. And the way that you do that is, well, I'm going to tell you, there's some tips. So basically, the easiest and quickest way to change your emotional state, to be able to elicit and bring on a positive emotional state when you're not necessarily feeling that way, is to change your posture. So I don't want you to take my word for this. I want to do a little test with you. So wherever you are, whether you're sitting, standing, or walking along, whatever you might be doing, obviously if it's safe to do so, just close your eyes for a minute, and I want you to think of a time that you felt really good. Maybe you wanted something and you suddenly got it, or you had a good date, or you just did a good performance, or you feel good for whatever reason. So I want you to close your eyes. I want you to bring that memory back. I want you to see through your own eyes. I want you to see what you see, hear what you hear, and feel the feelings and emotions coming back. And when you feel really good and like that's really happening right now, without changing anything physical, try and feel bad and notice what happens instead. You will find very quickly that it's actually impossible to feel bad when you are maintaining a strong, confident posture. And the reason for that is because your physiology will always win over your psychology. And I will copy and paste a little TED talk about power poses. The idea that if you stand in these kind of strong, powerful poses for at least 3 minutes, you cannot help but change your emotional state to being more confident. Now, you don't have to go to that kind of level. You could just stand in a very, strong, confident way, and you will get those emotions too. So that's the first thing. So you can actually add to that. Something you can do is you can actually engage your core slightly, almost like you're tensing your stomach muscles just a little bit, not too much. But the reason for that is if you've got a good, confident, strong posture, sometimes you can still hear that niggling voice in the back of your head telling you things about yourself that are going to basically throw you off and make you feel bad. Like, oh, that person's looking at me funny, or my boss is going to come over here and give me a hard time at any minute, or whatever it might be. But if you engage your core, almost like you're thinking from your core, you can still concentrate, you can still have a conversation, but it takes just enough attention so that you cannot listen to that little voice that's going on in your head at the same time. So if you've got that strong, confident posture, you're going to be in a good state, positive, confident state. And if you're engaging your core, you're going to be present. You're going to be out here, and you're going to be able to concentrate. So something else that you want to do, and the other key thing to managing your state, is to make sure that your breathing is correct. When I say correct, I mean just slow it down. So there's a very simple technique that you can do, and that's something called the 7-11 technique. So the idea that you're breathing in through your nose for 7 and holding at the top for a second or two, and then breathing out through your mouth for 11. Now, it's important here that you actually breathe out for longer than when you breathe in, because it actually signals to your amygdala and your parasympathetic nervous system to start to calm you down. The other great thing about this technique that it does is it actually puts you into the prefrontal cortex, because you have to use this to count. So the fact that you're counting while you're breathing means that you cannot be down in that emotional area of your brain where all the stress and anxiety comes from. So get your breathing right and get your posture right, and you're going to be in a much better state. Now, there's some other things that you can do as well. You can listen to music that makes you feel good, whether that be at your desk or wherever it is, or before you go into a meeting or an interview. By listening to music that puts you in a good, strong, confident state, or just relaxes you if you need to be calm, that's going to have a big influence on you. And then the last thing, I suppose, for now, because I don't want to go into too advanced things, if you want some extra help, you can come and see me, but the idea that something as simple as smiling. Okay, because yes, it seems very easy and straightforward, but actually when you have a really authentic smile, you should be engaging these two muscles at the side of your eyes. And when you do that, it's almost like they're attached to some levers in your brain that kind of pull down, and you actually release oxytocin into your bloodstream. Oxytocin is what they call the love hormone. It makes you feel good. It's the same feeling you get when you eat chocolate, or you have a really good feeling like that. So the idea that you smile will do that, and it will also, mirror neurons will be picking up on your facial expressions. So the idea being that if you're doing these things, whether or not everyone around them knows or wants to, unconsciously, they are going to pick up on, and it's contagious. They're going to start feeling good and acting good and responding to you in a good way. They're going to want to hang around with you. Your relationship with your boss, whoever, will start to improve. And I've seen it time and time again when I explain how this works, just by people, instead of worrying about trying to change them or getting completely into all of the things that might be happening or what they might do to me, instead of just doing that, manage your own state. Just make sure that you concentrate on putting yourself in the best possible mood and giving yourself the best, I guess, opportunity to get on well with that person. And whether they like it or not, your relationship is going to change for the better. And you're going to feel more confident, and things are going to feel easier to you. So I hope that's been helpful. Have a good afternoon, and I will speak to you again soon.